Hey everybody, back. Just to have a little discussion with you guys. Something that's been like on my mind all day. And I figured it's good time as any to talk about this. Uh, at first, this was gonna be about like, you know, what you would deem like, what would you deem men's spaces versus ones that are female spaces, and how one seems to be intruding on the other in terms of like film and media and stuff like that. And then it kind of evolved into just Hollywood in general, just their false or just manufactured inclusivity. And that's what I want to talk about right now. But before we get into it, please, if you do me the kindness of liking this video, share this with your friends, and leave a comment below and to let me know what you guys think. Now, I talk amongst my friends and other peers about this, and by and large, they aren't in agreement in terms of uh, in terms of what we've been viewing in TV shows, especially when it comes to like Disney recently. Like this, they just wrapped up the Acolyte on in Disney Plus, and I gave my thoughts after episode 3. I couldn't even be bothered continuing on because like the writing was so bad that I couldn't even force myself to continue watching. It was that horrible, and it just got perpetually worse from what I've gathered from other reviewers that say like, man, the writing is incoherent, the character's motivations is non-existent. What is even the goal of the main protagonist? It's just like trash after trash after trash. And people behind the scenes, such as Leslie Headland, uh, is doing like somersaults and damage control in terms of, you know, making it seem like this is good when it was clearly not. And with the main actress making this weird, cringy music video, uh, uh, trying to, because she's super activist, and it's like it's a bad move when you got like you're only hiring people based on their super activism and certain motivations that's separates from what you're hiring them for is like their acting capabilities. And all of that is problematic. I not too long ago I made a video which is up on my YouTube channel about this whole girl boss character trope, and it's a trope by this point and not a positive one, where of course I think anybody with their head on straight can all agree that inclusivity, by its, if I'm being generous here, its original ethos is a good thing, allowing certain people from different demographics an open door invitation to come into certain spaces that they struggle to get into or could not get into in the first place. That inherently is a good thing. Of course, we want more women directors. Of course, women should be in the writer's room, which I think by and large they were. Like you look at SNL, you know, uh, people way back in probably like in the 80s. It's like, there was like a fair amount, but even still, more should be in those particular rooms so they can give their uh, POV into certain things and offer something to the mix. And keyword there is to the mix, not to completely take over. And that's where I find it being a problematic thing. Okay. Yes, we all want like black people to be heard and seen. Yes, women should be heard and seen, but not to the detriment of everybody else. That's where it's like an issue, because it's the overcorrectness. Because you want a seat at the table, yes, you should have a seat at the table. But if you getting your seat at the table, you shouldn't be pushing somebody else off because, from some warped mindset, you figure they like, oh, I'm a female. This cis white males, who fit in a community that used to oppress me or my particular demographic in history. So I'm going to make sure he is lesser than or shoved to the side so I can boost my particular people up. Now, this ain't everybody. Of course, it's not everybody. But by and large, what it seems to be shoved in our faces is this manufactured inclusivity. It's not doing it in an organic way. And you can just tell by certain movies or TV shows that we've been seeing in the past few years now, probably even slightly longer than that, and it just feels hollow. And I, as I did like my video before, when I showed like a good list of female characters that were prominent years ago, like Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor, for example. She started off as an everyday woman working a common 9-to-5 job and meet this guy who told her that she will birth a future leader of humanity against a war against the machines. Now, she wasn't tough, didn't have any type of skill set, but she managed to push along through and help, take down this machine. As a matter of fact, she was the one that in the end crushed this thing in the end of the first movie. Then you have a healthy progression, a time skip into the second film where you see her then jacked and more knowledgeable in terms of weapons, training, and to bestow that onto her son, teach him some leadership skills that he will take into his adulthood when the rise against the machines happens. There is a natural progression. She did not get that way from the jump. I look at something like the animated Mulan. Unlike the live action version, Mulan had to be trained by male peers in order to be able to fight on their level. As a matter of fact, she used her own female intuition to think outside the box in order to be comparable to her male peers in order to defeat the main villain. Doing this today, we look at the live action version, it seems like because Hollywood just seems to be scared to make the female character look weak in some kind of capacity. They wanted to seem misogynistic. Then they had to give her almost everything out the gate without earning it. And this is what a lot of people's problem with like Ray Palpatine, because there's a bit of gray area. She was like the tipping point to what we got right now, where in this essence, Ray Palpatine isn't a bad idea of a character, a risk she was a little bit written better, but in its essence, Rey isn't like a bad idea for the new generation of Star Wars characters for the future. But the fact that she just automatically knows how to sword fight or lightsaber fight, she automatically knows how to tinker with stuff, go toe to toe with Kylo Ren, who was trained by Luke Skywalker in ways, and then later like Snoke in the ways of using a saber and the Force, and she just managed to barely hold her own, which realistically should not even be feasible. But you kind of threw her a glorified metaphysical bone in order to go toe to toe with somebody that, by and large, should be able to, without sweat, even injured, should be able to knock her block off fairly easily. It's like, me joining like the military, and I just know how to do all this weapons training without any teaching or barely any, and I can go toe to toe with like a Navy SEAL right out of boot camp. That doesn't make an impressive arc of a character. If that makes any sense. Because it seems like Hollywood is trying to because get these, I'm sorry, but super left feminist activism, like activists in these writers' room, in these particular high positions, and they not necessarily forget, but they don't understand how to write layered characters. We don't mind having female characters in film or TV shows. What most people are griping about is the fact that they're not written well or compelling for us to glom onto. And you look at Disney, Star Wars, for example. Just focus on that for a minute. Star Wars, and I was going to say this, so don't get your undies in a bunch, but Star Wars, in and of itself, the primary demographic has been a boys thing from the jump. As George Lucas pointed out, is like it's a soap opera essentially. It's about like fathers and sons and grandfathers and stuff like that. Now, not saying that girls cannot gravitate towards this kind of thing. Many girls have. As a matter of fact, as Lucas pointed out, the main hero in the original trilogy was Leia, Princess Leia. And she is one of the most prominent and most respected female characters in movie history, right up there with Sarah Connor in terms of iconic female characters. We don't gravitate towards her because she just happened to be female, because she was written well and we understood her character and empathized with her on a personal level. I'm a guy, a black man, as a matter of fact, and I understood. I didn't have to be a white female to understand Princess Leia. I just understood her because she's on a personal level, just by being a person, and understood her motivations, her goals, her likes, her dislikes, and stuff like that. And that makes me like the character. The same way, if you flip it, a female who doesn't identify as a male can still see and appreciate Luke Skywalker, even though she isn't a biological male. It can happen if the characters are written well. You don't have to always see yourself in every little thing. And that's the problem with Hollywood. They try to, get every person under the demographic moon into these spaces that doesn't fit. You look at it like the Acolyte, you can clearly see there was filling out a quota. As a matter of fact, it's already been reported that not just Disney, but Hollywood in general, with different types of studios, heck, even without superhero related content, they can't even be nominated for certain awards because they have to, like, all right, this person has to be part of this project in order to be able to be nominated for this Academy Award or Oscar or whatever like that. And that hurts rather than helps, because we used to be able to hire people based on their merit, not because they fit some particular demographic. I get it. If they started off at a pure place where certain people, like, I'm pretty sure maybe Prey wouldn't have been made, given the fact that it's primarily a Native American story with, like, the Predator as part of it. It wouldn't have been probably made years ago, especially being led by a female. So there are good things that come out of it if it comes from an organic, not any malicious or manufactured spirit. It's like you got a story that fits a particular person or community. Prey was made with a story in mind about a Native American culture, and you threw in like a predator into the story, and it all fit. It wasn't forced. You can just tell if you watch enough movies and TV shows what feels forced and what doesn't. And I didn't necessarily need to relate to the female character of Prey in order to enjoy her character. She was well written, and her arc was well done. You understood it. It didn't feel like no girl bossified character. She falters. She overcomes. That's what makes her triumph more endearing. If you did the whole thing like you did with Rey, then it's not much of a story if she automatically beats the Predator just because, like, I'm female, hear me roar attitude, and it just like doesn't make it a compelling story. In Hollywood's, well, I don't want to say Hollywood in general, but just certain people that in these spaces in Hollywood, because that's where the money is. So that's where they're gonna, like, okay, it's in right now that progression. You want to be on the right, because some people can't even. I'm not saying like everybody agrees with what's going on in Hollywood right now that works in the Hollywood system. They might not all agree with what's going on, but they're not going to be able to be verbally out about it because they want to save their jobs. They got bills to pay, they got families to look after, so they're going to zip their lip by and large. I think that's widely understood. It's not open about it, but it's kind of widely understood that they can't really voice their concerns. Matter of fact, most of the writers in like the Disney space left when they realized, like, like, we gotta write this drivel. Like, I'm not with this. It doesn't make any sense. And they bringing in other writers that seem like Tumblr folks, or like like, matter of fact, Kathleen Kennedy. I'm sorry to throw her under the bus, but it got to be said that apparently most people that she bring on, the like certain females that's in her orbit, are brought in. One of them being saying, like, do you know anything about, like, I'm pretty sure you can look this up. The name escapes me because it's like hard to pronounce. One of them, she hires, makes some kind of, she questions, like, do you know the story of, like, Han Solo? I was like, is that guy who has that, dog as a partner? It's like, you're hired. It's like that very surface level, hollow understanding on a IP that is well beloved by a certain demographic of people. And you pretty much peed all over it. And it's like hardly any of you respect this, let alone understand it. And it's like there are certain spaces that belongs to only women. And now certain men can enjoy them too. It's not like you don't have a right to watch a certain thing that's geared towards females. But let's just say like I was one that writing like a Barbie sequel. Now, not saying that I don't know anything about Barbie. I understand that it's like a appreciated doll that's beloved by millions of little girls around the world. So I'm going to do my due diligence in making sure I understood the source, researched the source, and respect the people that love this particular source. And I'm going to do my darnest to make sure that essence, the core of that IP, is left intact while I do my thing. It's the same way as like if anybody writes about any particular thing that has a long fan base. If I don't know anything about it, I'm going to do my research and understand like, these people, each thing has like a particular fan base. And it behooves a person, writer or director, to not piss off that particular fan base and know who is this particular for. Not saying like, oh, I'm writing Star Wars, that means that no women are allowed. Oh, I'm writing about Barbie, no men are allowed. Everybody's allowed, but I'm gearing towards a particular people. That I'm universally writing for everybody, but they're the focus. And it seems like you're shoving agendas because you know most people involved in this kind of stuff seems like they got a chip on their shoulder, and they bring it into the mix of whatever IP they managed to glom onto. I don't think Acolyte, the same way with like that Velma TV show, was originally supposed to, I'm pretty sure it was, something original tale that certain like Leslie Helen or Mindy Kaling wanted to write about, but wasn't probably going to get greenlit. So they glom onto an original IP, so that way they can get whatever thing they want out there into the world, whatever agenda or whatever thing they want to talk about out there in the world. And the masses are forced to not forced, but pretty much have to roll our eyes at, because like you're ruining something in order to get wherever you want off your chest to the masses. Like, I got a story about, this, two twin women that, they probably don't identify as, as a binary, label, and it's into a hot Asian dude. And like, it could have been like a rom-com, but, it probably wasn't going to get greenlit or get the backing, the money backing for it. So let's attach it to a recognizable IP, so that way we can get it off the ground and damn the audience. And of course, they also spin it where it's like, oh, it wasn't successful because people are, ist or ageist, like, oh, you must hate women or you must hate this demographic because that's why it wasn't successful. But no, people, I'm not saying that there ain't idiots out there like that in the ethos, but by and large, anybody who brings up an issue should at the very least be listened to. There's some people that actually have some legit criticisms and doesn't make them hate a particular demographic. You're trying to bring in, like I said, inclusion in and of itself is okay by its core, but you pushing it too far when that is your primary motivation. Like, there was like a movie that came out a couple of years ago called Bros, which is pretty much like a movie about like pretty much like a rom com about two men. I guess it's like a rom com about like gay men and everything like that. Now they didn't do so hot in the box office, and of course I didn't see it, but like I remember the trailers for it. Now, it didn't do so well in the box office, and from my understanding was okay. I still respected that because you didn't attach it to an original IP in order to get it off the ground or to get it out there in the theaters. You had an original idea, and come with May, it's yours. It wasn't attached to Pokemon. It wasn't attached to a DC property. It wasn't attached to Ninja Turtles. It was uniquely your own thing. And by and large, whether like I watched it or not, I respect the fact that you did it on your own and it was something out of you. That's why it kind of rubs me the wrong way with this false sense of inclusionness. You like, do you really, none of them at the higher ups really probably believe in this crap. They just see that there's money to be made off of this whole woke inclusionness d.e.i thing. And it's like, oh, you're a Native American, you're hired. God forbid you actually know what you're doing. If you're like an artist or a writer, are you any good? We don't know, as long as you fit a particular thing. We'll hire you because you're non-binary. Are you any good at acting? I don't, who needs to know? It's like there used to be merit when it comes to hiring certain people for a particular job. And it's like people don't care if you have like a black lead into a particular role. Are they any good? Now, there are certain haters and there's certain people that are, racist idiots out there in the world. But you can quickly shut them up if you have an original tale with layered characters and a person who's good at acting or good at writing or good at directing. And then it completely nullifies any type of question of whether or not this is any good just by off rip. And like we used to know this, but like I said, there's some typical overcorrectness out there in the world, particularly Hollywood, where they kind of like toss that out. Now, I would also say there has been like Has Been Hotel, great TV show. Now, there probably be particular people might call it woke, but it's original tale. I gotta give it that. It has layered characters. It isn't just superficial, surface level characters like, oh, they're just two lesbians that and that's all there are, just lesbians. Like, who are they? What are their likes and their dislikes? What are their motivations? What are their goals? What are their hobbies? What are these people that I can understand and connect with? That's the whole point of making like a layered character. You have to be able to connect with them in some point. I'm not a bisexual female, but I can empathize and connect with Charlie from Has Been Hotel because she's a layered character. I'm not an ogre, but I can empathize with Shrek and Fiona because they are layered characters, well written. That's what the people want. It doesn't make you racist. It doesn't make you misogynist because you dare to not just clap like seals every time they put out something and expect you to like it just for the sake of it. Oh, You have a lesbian as a main, lead in something. Wow, good for you. Pat yourself on the back because you did a thing. Because hey, we see you lesbians out in the world. We see you black people out in the world. Here's a black woman like us, and it's like that should not be good enough. And like you should, be able to take the criticism when somebody points out this is not enough. This is hollow. It's not good enough. We want, of course, we want to see like a black female lead in something. I argue an original content, not just slap get hand-me-downs like the Black Little Mermaid. How about coming up with an original tale with a black lead, and not just rip away something that belonged to a different demographic, like redhead gingers. I'm pretty sure ginger girls that probably looked up to Ariel for the longest time. How about come up with, like, because you made Coco, you made Moana. Clearly, you can do this. Clearly, you get some capable writers who know their stuff and make an original tale. You can do this. You've proven it before. So you have no excuse why you give us this surface level crap. Nobody is, especially because God help you, because there's plenty of females that I've seen and know that look at this and feels a bit pandered to. Nobody wants to be pandered to. Like George Lucas said, like, you don't slap on pants on a woman and say she's powerful, or call her a leader or a hero just because you put her in pants. There's more to it than that, and Hollywood is sucking by and large. Every once in a while they get it right, but in the past few years they've been like, focus on the wrong thing. They're putting their agendas and message before anything else, and by the time they get to, okay, what's the story gonna be about, you barely got time to fit it all in before the movie or TV show starts rolling out for everybody to see. And it hinders more than it helps. And that's why I cannot stand this whole manufactured inclusion. Inclusion, like I said, in total conclusion of this video, inclusion by its essence is a good thing. But it rings hollow if you don't come up with an original idea, because it seems like Hollywood is like allergic to that every once in a while. But also not making it layered characters that we can understand and connect to. Because I remember a few years ago I went to C2E2 convention. There was, and this warmed my heart. There was this little white kid. This is probably like no older than maybe 3 or 4 that went to the convention with his parents dressed as Black Panther. And it warmed my heart because I'm pretty sure that kid looked up to Black Panther the same way I would look up to Superman or Captain America, even though I'm not a white guy. But because of what those characters stand for, I still relate to it on a deeper level beyond skin tone. And I'm pretty sure that kid looked at Black Panther the same way, even though they don't look alike. He look up to them. That kid looked up to Black Panther the same way as I would to Captain America, and that is what it's supposed to be about. What that character represents, not because of what their skin tone is or what their gender is or some type of like demographic they're supposed to fit in or whatever. It's just like that should be second or thirdary into the story. Okay, having a female in a thing is fine, but their whole like the whole what's the word? The whole personality just can't be defined by what gender they are or what their sexual orientation is. That doesn't make a good story or compelling character. And Hollywood needs to quickly fix that and don't jump down somebody's neck because they dare to question it. And don't you dare try to spin it to make it seem like they're racist or misogynist because they dare to question like why this person is doing this. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't look good, or whatever the case or critique might be. A healthy critique, not just because not all of them are just saying it because they hate women. They're not all just saying that because like, oh, I don't care. I don't like this demographic or whatever like that. No, they just want to see something good, and it's up to Hollywood or these writers to understand like, okay, we need to actually put in the work, and that's what we need to do. Put in the work and actually dig deep and see like, okay, no one wants to be lectured to, so let's work on these characters. And messaging is fine, but that should be secondary or third in your conscious and when you making up a story. Anyway, that's just my ramble, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Where you agree or disagree is like, just be cordial, but that's just my take on the subject. I'll see you guys next time for more of a discussion. That's all it is discussion, free form thought. Yeah, if you're like, it's supposed to be a free country, we should also have free of thought and expression, whether or not you agree or whatever point of view you have. It is open to everybody to share, which Disney like to preach, but in practice is just like something they are seriously lacking. I'm just have to put it out there because it is a thing. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a good day.